Welcome to Love Lies Chronicles.
I'd really appreciate your comment. It helps me understand if you enjoyed the story and how I can improve in future ones. I was finishing a mileage report at the kitchen table when it happened. Quiet Sunday, late, that slow Denver winter light already gone from the windows. The dishwasher hummed. The Broncos game was muted on the TV in the living room because I can't think with announcers shouting. My name is Daniel Mercer, I'm 40, and I work as a logistics consultant. My job is predictable. My evenings usually are too. That night felt normal until it wasn't. She moved around the kitchen like a guest, wine glass in hand, phone face down on the counter, a kind of careful distance in the way she reached for things that used to be ours. No conversation about the week ahead, no question about my client in Dallas, just the soft clink of ice against glass and the quiet tap of a fingernail on the countertop. I was checking one last receipt when she looked over and let it out, the sentence she'd been polishing somewhere I couldn't see. I just want to live for myself. I set the pen down and looked up. I let the words land. Do it, but not while I'm paying the bills. That's all. I went back to the report. She didn't move for a few seconds. I could feel her stare the way you feel a draft around a window that isn't sealed right. Then the fridge door opened and shut and the dishwasher beeped, and we both let the house make the noises we didn't. She expected a fight. I didn't give her one. That was the first surprise. For months, something had been off in small, durable ways. Our shared calendar quietly became hers. The passcode on her phone rotated to a pattern I wasn't invited to learn. Girls' nights multiplied, then migrated to networking events, which meant heels and a rideshare, because parking is a nightmare down there. There were more selfies, less eye contact. I paid attention the way I do at work when a warehouse number is almost right, but not quite. She used to narrate her day without prompting. Now I'd get a headline and a shrug. She used to take my hand when we passed each other in the hall. Now she'd reach past me for a light switch like I was part of the wall. It's a funny moment when you realize neglect has a weight. You don't hear it. You carry it. After my answer, she stood there a beat too long, then took her wine and moved to the living room. I stayed at the table. 10 more lines on the mileage form, a quick scan for duplicates, the small consolations of math. When I closed the laptop, she was sitting on the edge of the couch, not watching me. The distance between us was about 10 feet and 3 years. I'm going to bed, she said, not looking at me, which made it less a statement and more a proof. I didn't say anything back. She wasn't asking. In the quiet after her door clicked shut, I rinsed my glass and put it in the sink on the left side, where the clean dishes go to be patient, and I felt something settle that had been sliding around for a while. I didn't feel rage or panic. I felt alignment. The sentence she'd chosen wasn't impulsive. People rehearse before they perform. She had shown me what she wanted. I believed her. There's a line men cross in their heads when they move from managing a problem to solving it. It isn't loud. It's just a switch that flips from maybe this will pass to no, this is the new map. I dried the counter. I wiped a ring her glass left on the table. I walked through the rooms and turned off lights that didn't need to be on. I thought about the first winter in this townhouse. The January we painted the spare room and argued about whether grayish meant anything as a color. We ate Chinese takeout on the floor and used the box as a table and laughed about the fortunes, both of us wearing paint on our forearms like proof we were building something. That memory didn't hurt. It just sat next to the present like 2 lines on a chart that used to cross and now ran apart. Her sentence kept replaying, not like an accusation, but like a policy. I just want to live for myself. The way I see it, if someone writes a policy, the adult thing to do is implement it. I'm in the business of clarity. So I gave myself one rule for the morning. Treat her words as binding, for her and for me. In small ways, the shift started immediately. I set 1 coffee cup on the counter instead of 2. I moved my gym bag to the trunk of my car, so I wouldn't have to walk past our bedroom in the dark. I turned off our shared grocery list and made a new one with fewer items than I've bought in years. No announcements. You don't have to slam a door to close it. On the fridge is a magnet her sister bought us with a line about love being patient. Patience is a virtue. It's not a leash. I stood there for a second and then checked the locks and went to bed on the other side of the house, the room we called the office but never really used for work. The mattress in there is thinner and the lamp is too bright, and the blinds don't quite meet in the middle, and still I slept better than I had in weeks. Morning came the way it always does. Coffee, shower, inbox. We passed in the hall like commuters at a station. She had that distant smile on, the kind you wear for a neighbor you don't know well. It was efficient. It told me enough. I nodded back. No commentary. She grabbed her keys. She asked nothing about my day. I asked nothing about hers. It was an agreement neither of us signed, but both of us obeyed. On my drive to the office, the city felt unusually legible. The light rail cut across Broadway. A runner waited at a crosswalk, bouncing on the balls of her feet. A guy in a beanie carried a ladder by himself with a kind of stubborn pride you only see at 7 a.m. I had this sudden thought that life often announces the hard part long before it arrives. We just don't want to read it. Yesterday, she handed me the translation. So this is the record. She declared a new life. I told her to live it, not on my tab. I didn't raise my voice. I took her sentence, filed it under policy, and decided to act accordingly. The rest will happen the way gravity happens, quietly, then all at once. For now, part 1 ends where it started. A clean kitchen, a closed laptop, a man who heard exactly what was said and plans to honor it. Tomorrow can carry the noise. Tonight belongs to decisions. Monday started as a dress rehearsal for strangers. She moved through the kitchen without touching anything of mine, like the salt and the knife block belonged to some prior tenant. Coffee for one. A bowl in the sink with oatmeal cementing to the sides. I took my mug to the garage and finished it standing by the workbench, letting the cool air clear my head. She said she wanted to live for herself. I decided to give her the freedom of that sentence. No corrections, just space wide enough to hear her own echo. At the office, I ran logistics for a client who confuses urgent with noisy. Good. Noise is useful when you're moving quietly. Over lunch, I opened a new account at a bank 2 blocks from my building. The banker wore a tie with sailboats and asked whether I wanted to transfer in full or stage it. Stage it, I said. Men like me stage things. It's safer. I shifted a clean portion of my savings first, updated my direct deposit to land there on Friday, and scheduled the rest to move at week's end. The banker slid paperwork across the desk, all bright white and clean lines, and I signed my name to a fresh start in black ink that didn't smudge. That night, we crossed paths at the top of the stairs. She had on the voice she uses for rideshare drivers, polite and empty. Late night? She asked without looking at me. Productive, I said, which was true. I left it at that. She scrolled her phone and smiled at something that lived in there instead of in our hall. Tuesday, I called the credit card company from the parking lot before a site visit. The representative asked security questions I could answer in my sleep, then pulled up the account. How can we help today, Mr. Mercer? Remove the authorized user. Issue a replacement card in my name only. Overnight shipping. PIN reset. The representative clicked and hummed and read disclosures like a bedtime story. A few minutes later, the digital version of her card vanished from the app as neatly as a magician's coin. At home, she reheated leftovers and ate standing, fork tapping the rim in a nervous metronome. She left the container open on the counter like a small dare. I rinsed it and put it away. You don't have to do that, she said flat. I heard you, I said because I had. She wanted to live for herself. That included her own messes and her own meals. Wednesday belonged to utilities. Over an early sandwich, I logged into the power, gas, and internet portals and pulled everything off our joint email. Autopay stayed on. My card, my account, my calendar, because I don't believe in chaos for sport. I set new passwords and recovery questions only I would know. The point was to take my name back from places where it had become invisible. I could turn switches off later. For now, I wanted a clean perimeter. When she came home, she breezed past me with a shopping bag that looked suspiciously like something you buy to impress people you don't know yet. Going out, she said into the air. Live for yourself, I said, gently enough that it didn't sound like a weapon. She flinched anyway. Truth has an edge even when you set it down carefully. Thursday brought the joint account into focus. I had left enough there to cover ordinary noise, subscriptions, a stray charge from a restaurant we'd forgotten to cancel. That morning I drained it to the level of a hotel Bible, present, but unconsulted. I closed the overdraft protection we once thought of as a kindness. I changed the PIN at the ATM by the coffee shop where the barista writes my name with a flourish even on bad days. On my way back to the car, I bought a small suitcase with a hard shell. Rolling wheels. Matte gray. It looked like a man who had decided something. At home, She avoided my eyes and asked the house questions she wished I'd answer. Did you see my charger? Where's the mail key? Did you move my coat? I answered what mattered. No. On the hook by the door. Same place it always is. I kept it humane. I kept it plain. I have learned that clarity doesn't need volume. Friday, my salary hit the new account at 5:12 a.m. Mountain Time. A clean deposit, no shared threads attached. I registered a mailbox at a shipping store near the airport and set a forwarding order for anything that carried my name and a deadline. I called my client in Dallas and asked to move our Monday check-in to Zoom because of travel. He said, of course. People say of course when you give them a reason that sounds like a calendar, not a crisis. She had plans that night. Heels, perfume I know by heart, the glitter lip that means professional photos, or a room with low lights. At the door she paused like she might ask something real, then didn't. Don't wait up, she said, trying on indifference like a jacket. Wouldn't fit me anyway, I said, and watched her leave. I don't chase cabs. I don't chase people who told me their destination. Saturday, the house was quiet long enough to hear fabric shift and the neighbor's dog invent emergencies. I made a list. It was short. Move the rest of the savings. Photograph the titles and documents that matter. Pull the emergency cash from the safe in the office that stopped being an office. Book a one-way seat out of Denver. I didn't overcomplicate it with symbolism. A flight is a flight. I searched cities where I'm no one. Checked for a morning departure that would make room for second thoughts and then deny them. I picked a window seat and declined to add a rental car. I'll walk before I borrow. In the afternoon, she returned with shopping bags rigid enough to stand on their own. She went straight to the bedroom and shut the door. Music hummed through the wall like a secret she had with a speaker. I did laundry, mine, and folded it into squares that looked like decisions. When she emerged, she scanned the living room like she was listing assets. We need to talk, she said, but her voice wasn't connected to her eyes. We already did, I said, and left it there. She rolled her eyes hard enough to see the ceiling. That, too, is a kind of agreement. Sunday dawned thin and clear. I woke before the sun and packed the matte gray suitcase with the indifference of somebody who has practiced leaving 1,000 different ways. 2 shirts, 1 sport coat, a pair of jeans that forgive mistakes, the boots that can handle airports and alleyways. Laptop, charger, passport. I watered the plant in the kitchen because it did nothing wrong. I wiped the counters because I liked the way they looked when decisions were clean. She slept late. When she finally drifted into the hall, she caught me at the table checking a confirmation email with a gate number I would not say out loud. Where are you going? She asked, and there was a tremor there, or maybe I wanted there to be one. To live for myself, I said, calm and true. It was a mirror. She blinked slowly, like adjusting to light. I left the garage remote on the counter and put my key on a square of paper towel so it wouldn't scratch the wood. The small kindnesses matter. They prove this isn't revenge. At the door, I paused long enough to breathe the room one last time. It smelled like citrus cleaner and the ghost of the winter candles she loves when she remembers we share seasons. On the drive to the airport, the city looked honest. A man in a truck hauled a mattress on a rope that would not survive a turn. 2 kids in puffy coats argued about a stick with the intensity of poets. A woman walked a pit bull that looked like it would die for her on command and fall asleep in the sun between commands. The ordinary is a mercy if you let it be. I parked at Long Term, wheeled the gray case across painted arrows, and took the shuttle in with a handful of people carrying their own private reasons. At security, I removed my belt and my old watch and the part of me that used to think everything could be negotiated if you were patient enough. At the gate, I didn't check my phone. It would light up soon enough when the world noticed the rearrangement. I had already written the only sentence I planned to send if asked to explain. You said you wanted to live for yourself. I'm honoring that. 7 days. That's what it took to turn a sentence into policy and policy into motion. No scenes. Just a man who heard what was said and chose to believe it. The boarding call sounded like any other. I stood. I shouldered the case. I walked toward a future measured in my name and nobody else's. The first morning in the new city, I woke before the alarm and let the unfamiliar ceiling tell me I'd made the right kind of change. Different air, different street noise, same plan. I walked to a branch I'd mapped the night before and sat with a banker who wore cufflinks shaped like anchors. We confirmed Friday's deposit had landed in the new account, set alerts to my private email, and issued a second card in my name only. I asked him to remove all authorized users. There were none now, and to place a note on the profile, no additions without in-person ID. I prefer systems that refuse ambiguity. On the sidewalk, I bought a coffee and forwarded my mail to the airport mailbox number I'd opened. Then I called my insurance agent and took her off the auto policy. Single driver, single liability. The premium dropped by a number that made me wonder how many things I'd absorbed without noticing. I updated emergency contacts at work, moved my digital subscriptions under a brand new email, and closed the last shared cloud folder, the one with a polite label, Home Docs, that had become a museum of things I alone maintained. By mid-afternoon, I had a text from her, a photo of a restaurant check with a red, declined line like an accusation. What did you do to the card? A month ago, I might have drafted a paragraph about budgets and respect. Today, I sent the only line that mattered. You said you wanted to live for yourself. I'm honoring that. Dots danced. Nothing else came. Silence filled in what pride refused to say. An hour later, a screenshot from the grocery store terminal. Call your bank. No greeting. The terminal listed a number that would go nowhere for her. I typed, "It's not my bank anymore. Use your own." She replied with a paragraph about cruelty, about timing, about how she was in line and humiliated. Humiliation is a mirror. It shows you the bill you thought someone else would pay. That evening, the landlord called me because my name is the one on the lease and property managers love paper more than people. He said the auto pay had bounced and asked whether I'd changed something. I vacated, I said. Through the end of the current cycle, I'll meet the prorated amount for the portion I occupy, which is 0. After that, she can apply in her own name. I won't be a guarantor. He coughed into the phone the way men do when money and policy collide with an untidy life. Understood, he said, and promised to email her the application packet. I could have been petty and terminated immediately. I chose clean lines instead. She wants independence. Independence comes with contracts. The next morning, she tried a rideshare and learned that my card no longer lived behind her app. Payment failed glowed cheerful and merciless on a gray bubble. Seriously? You stranded me? I sent one sentence. Live for yourself means funding yourself. She wrote back, "You're unbelievable." Then, "Where even are you?" I left the question where it belonged, unanswered, and turned off location sharing I'd forgotten was still on. Small switches, big weather. Her paycheck hit Friday and bounced back to sender because she had directed it to the joint account I'd reduced to a legal fiction. She told me this like a lawyer presenting evidence. "Because of you, I won't get paid until they reissue. I need gas money." I didn't argue the mechanics. "Open your own account," I wrote. "Routing and account numbers are free. So is adulthood." It read harsher than I felt. Tone is hard over text, but clarity needs edges or it turns to soup. She moved from anger to negotiation to nostalgia like a person cycling stations in a storm. "We can figure this out if you just stop being dramatic." Drama is noise that hides a lack of plan. I answered with the plan I had. No more join anything. You wanted to live for yourself. I'm stepping out of your way. She sent a long string of messages after that, a river that tried to wear down rock. I set the phone face down and did laundry in a building I didn't yet recognize by sound. I spent Saturday morning finishing the quiet tasks that change a life. I pulled my name off 2 utility accounts and confirmed the power and internet now ran solely through my card. If I choose to cut those cords later, I can do it clean. I exported a PDF of our household budget, replaced the word hour with mine, and laughed once, short and honest. I called my cell carrier and split my line off the family plan we'd started when phones still had home buttons. They asked if I wanted to keep the number. I thought about history and decided history could live in a SIM card without owning me. Around noon, she texted a photo of the apartment mailbox stuffed with envelopes and a notice taped above it from the property office. Resident listed on lease must appear in person to discuss renewal terms. Her caption, "They won't talk to me without you. That's what independence looks like in buildings you don't own," I wrote. Make your own arrangement or find another place. I was giving her the dignity of reality. That evening, she tried a different angle, softening her voice in text as if vowels could be gentled. "This is all too fast. You blindsided me. After everything we've been through, you could at least help me transition." The word transition did more work than it had a right to do. I answered with the policy she authored. "You declared a new life. I implemented it." Then I added one line because precision matters. "I'm not punishing you. I'm declining to sponsor you." Sunday morning, A message popped at 6:07 a.m., the hour when fear speaks plain. My phone bill is due tomorrow. If it gets cut, I can't even call to fix the paycheck. Please. There are emergencies and there are consequences. This was the second dressed as the first. Set up your own autopay, I wrote. Different card. Different life. I stared at the send arrow a second longer than I'll admit, and then tapped it because grown men should do the things they say they believe. Late that afternoon, the landlord emailed both of us. A model of cheerful bureaucracy. Reminder: tenant of record must be present by close of business Wednesday to execute renewal or surrender the unit. Guests not listed will be required to vacate within 7 days of non-renewal. That was the letter I knew would come. Paper is patient until it isn't. She forwarded it to me with no comment, then followed a minute later. We need to talk. Face to face. Book a ticket, I wrote. With your funds. I could feel the insult land through the screen, a tremor in a room I no longer occupied. The rest of the day brought smaller flares. A streaming platform logged her out because the master password changed. She told me that as if it were a crime. I fund what I use, I said. A furniture store called about a mattress she had financed last spring on our shared profile. I gave them her number and removed mine. She texted, "You're cutting me off from everything." No, I wrote. I'm cutting myself out of what you told me doesn't include me. When night came, I walked the new neighborhood and let my legs burn off the residue of old habits. She sent one more message as the sky lost its last color. Where are you sleeping? Are you even safe? It was the first question about me in weeks. I considered rewarding the effort. Then I thought about policy, about how adults learn from the consequences they meet, not the exceptions they're granted. Safe, I wrote. And exactly where I chose to be. I left it at that. Financial lockout sounds harsh until you recognize what it replaces. The soft prison of a man underwriting a person who asked not to be his partner. I haven't taken anything that was hers. I've removed everything of mine from where it no longer belonged. She wanted to live for herself. I'm the one making sure that sentence is true in the only place truth counts. On ledgers, on leases, at registers that print approved or don't. The first week away taught me something simple. Distance is a mirror. You can see your life without the fog of habit. The second week taught me something else. Consequences travel faster than feelings. It started with a photo from our neighbor. My number was still in her phone from the time I fixed a trip breaker for her. She texted a picture of our door, a bright notice taped chest high with office font cheerfulness. Tenant of record must appear by close of business Wednesday to renew or surrender. Below it, a line in small print about 7 days to vacate after non-renewal. No commentary, just the image. I thanked her and told her not to get involved. She replied with a thumbs up that felt kinder than words. 5 minutes later, my phone lit with her messages stacked like bad weather. They put up a notice because you're being impossible. Come fix it. I read the text, let the verbs do their work. You, fix, and wrote the same sentence I'd written before because it kept being true. You said you wanted to live for yourself. I'm honoring that. She called. I declined. She called again. I declined again. Then a third time, because fear runs on repetition. I let the call pass and went back to the email I was writing to my client, a brisk status update that didn't mention real estate or tape. That afternoon, the power company emailed to confirm the autopay cancellation I'd scheduled at the end of the cycle. A second email followed. Past due balance will trigger service interruption if unpaid by 5 p.m. Thursday. Practical, not personal, my favorite kind of sentence. I forwarded it to her and added, set up your own account. Your name, your card. That's independence. 10 minutes later, she replied with a paragraph about safety, about how irresponsible it would be to cut electricity on a woman. Electricity doesn't know genders. It knows ledgers. I didn't write that. I'm not here to win debates. I'm here to avoid paying for them. Her friends went quiet in stages. On Monday, she posted a bathroom mirror selfie with a caption about choosing me. 2 days later, a story about navigating a season. By Friday, nothing but a shared quote about storms and the ocean. People double-tap courage until the bill shows up. Then they remember errands. I noticed it the way you notice temperature, a fact that changes how fast water boils. Payroll wrote her the email I knew they would. Direct deposit failed. Please provide updated routing and account information. Funds will be reissued on the next pay cycle. She screenshotted it, and sent it to me as if I were HR. I won't see a dime for 2 weeks because you closed what we had. Open what you need, I wrote. Banks are open 6 days. She responded with I can't even get across town if the power goes out. The bus pass reload is tied to the old account. Reload it with your card, I answered. Or walk. It read colder than I felt. But the alternative was to start explaining how adulthood works to someone who asked to be treated like an adult. Men waste years doing that. Wednesday morning brought the landlord's follow-up. Clocks ticking. Lease renewal requires current tenants' physical presence. If not renewed today, unit converts to holdover and vacate notice posts Friday. He copied both of us like a referee. She texted me the same minute. They said if you sign, I can stay. Just come by for 10 minutes. No, I wrote. I won't be your guarantor. Then, because I'm not cruel, I added, they'll let you apply in your name. Pick the life you asked for. She replied with a photograph of herself crying. The new century's proof of sincerity. I set the phone down and made eggs in a pan that didn't remember our breakfasts. By noon, the apartment office delivered on the email's promise. The neighbor sent another picture. The 7-day notice taped over the old one. My name in bold because the printer knew who paid the last 12 months. She called me again. I answered this time because there's a point past which ignoring is just theater. She dropped pretense and went straight for the throat. They'll throw me out, she said. You're doing this. No, I said, steady. You asked for this. I'm stepping aside so it can arrive. She started to say something about love and duty and the years we built, and I told her the line that matters most. Love isn't a subsidy. You wanted to live for yourself. This is the invoice. Silence. Then the smallest voice, the one from the hour before dawn. I don't have money for a ticket. I can't even get to you to talk. That part hurt because it was true, and because truth always arrives with a cost. You don't need to get to me, I said. You need to get to a bank, a leasing office, and a job you fund with your own account. She hung up. I let the dial tone be the moral. The utilities struck next. A pink slip on the mailbox warned of internet service interruption for non-payment. She texted the notice with 3 exclamation points, as if punctuation could keep a modem alive. Set up your own service, I wrote. They'll be happy to install if you pay them. She sent back, can't you just cover this month while I figure it out? No, I don't write essays where a word will do. Her mother called me the next day from a number I didn't recognize. She started kind, the way older women speak to men they once imagined as sons. Then she turned sharp, the way mothers do when their children cry in kitchens. Help her, she said. Just this once. I did, I said. I got out of the way. She started to tell me what a decent man would do. I said a decent man believes a person when she announces who she is and reorganizes accordingly. We said our polite goodbyes and hung up like adults who understood we were no longer on the same side of the script. By Friday, the apartment looked like a city under a curfew. Lights off in the daytime to save what she could, phone brightness turned down, a candle I recognized from last winter lit on the coffee table like a prop. She sent me a photo of the hallway in the dark. The caption tried to be brave. Romantic, right? I didn't answer. Because jokes are a kind of denial, and I won't sponsor that either. The practical cornered her where theory couldn't. The property office told her they wouldn't accept a partial payment from a person not on the lease. The leasing website showed new rates higher than the ones we'd locked a year ago. The bus app wouldn't reload without a card. Her direct deposit would arrive next cycle if she filed new numbers before noon. The security deposit, 2 months' rent we'd fronted at the beginning, would be returned to the tenant of record after move-out inspection. She texted about that one with a shaking hands emoji. If you sign the release, I can use the deposit to get a new place now. I'll sign whatever the office sends me after you vacate, I wrote. They'll mail the check per policy. I won't advance cash. In other words, adulthood again. She tried selling a few things online. The bar cart, a set of lamps we bought when we were pretending to be a couple who had opinions about filament bulbs. Lowball offers rolled in. She accepted one out of panic and then cried about the number. The marketplace moves at the speed of need. Buyers can smell it. She told me she hated our city. She told me she hated me. Then she told me she missed me. All 3 statements can be true for a person who hasn't decided who she is without a sponsor. The last night of that week, she sent a message without decoration. I need to see you. Please. The word please sat there like a folded note. I looked at it longer than I meant to. Then I answered with the honesty she keeps calling cruelty. Buy a ticket. With your card. Living for yourself starts at checkout. The dots appeared, then vanished, then appeared. Nothing came. I put the phone on the dresser and stood by the window of the new place until the glass stopped showing my face and began showing the city instead. Here is the thing no one tells you about boundaries. They don't feel heroic. They feel like standing still while someone you once loved learns how gravity works. You want to run in and catch them. You also remember who pushed you to the edge of the roof and called it freedom. So you watch, and you don't gloat, and you let paper and clocks do the teaching. By the time I slept, the situation no longer needed commentary. A notice on a door. A shut-off schedule. A paycheck delayed because adulthood arrived late. Friends dispersing like smoke. A mother's voice turning from soft to steel. And one ticket she could buy or not buy, the most honest vote a person can cast about the life they asked for. By the end of that week, the apartment was speaking a language she couldn't edit. Notices with deadlines, balances with math that didn't care about feelings. My phone stayed face down unless it lit with work or logistics I'd chosen. When I did look, her messages came in waves. Anger, bargaining, apology, repeat. She wanted a different ending without changing the plot. I kept giving her the only sentence that fit the script she wrote. You said you wanted to live for yourself. I'm honoring that. Monday morning, I met a lawyer who smelled faintly of printer toner and good coffee. I like professionals who speak in bullet points. We went over separation options, the difference between dissolving and dividing, which accounts were mine alone by statute, which items to document with photos, which words not to use in email. He said I was early and organized. I told him logistics is my job on and off the clock. He nodded, circled 2 dates on a calendar, and sent me away with tasks. None of them included rescuing anyone. That afternoon, she tried a softer angle. I've been thinking. We could reset. New rules, separate accounts, but together. We don't have to throw everything away. The sentences sounded like a lease renewal with a scented candle. I read them twice, once for history and once for accuracy. Then I answered in 12 words. No, you asked for independence. I'm confirming it in writing and life. Dots appeared, disappeared. When people run out of spin, they stall. The property office did not stall. The 7-day clock turned into 5, then 4. She sent a photo of boxes and a caption about downsizing. It would have been funny if it weren't expensive. She asked again about the security deposit, how quickly it could be released if we both went in together. I told her the truth. After you vacate, the office inspects and mails per policy. There's no shortcut. She wrote back, you could hand me the money now, and we'd be done. That's a loan, I typed. We're finished with those. On Wednesday, she stopped pretending. I can't do this by myself. I don't have a way to you. I don't have a way to fix this fast without you. The message stated a fact. I sat with it a minute longer than pride recommends, and then gave her the only help I give now. Instructions. Open your account today. Hand carry the form to payroll. Apply for a unit in your name. If you need to travel, buy the ticket with your card. No, you got this. Adults don't need cheerleaders as much as they need decisions. 2 days later, she arrived in my city anyway. Not by plane. She sold the bar cart and 2 lamps and bought a bus ticket that turned 10 hours into 15 and dignity into something she had to fold and carry. I knew because she texted from the station with a photo of a plastic seat and a bag of pretzels. I'm here. I don't know your address. Meet me. I thought about ignoring it on principle. Then I thought about the fact that I am not a cruel man. I am a consistent one. I chose a public lobby near my building and sent the cross streets. She walked in smaller than I remembered, or maybe just less inflated by the oxygen of easy money. The kind of coat you wear when you've been standing outside making choices. We sat on opposite ends of a low table designed to make strangers be polite. She started the way people start when they've rehearsed in a mirror. I was wrong about some things, she said. Not about wanting space. About thinking space meant I could keep all the comforts while you floated around me like a wallet with a heartbeat. I nodded once to show the air was safe for honesty. I need help, she said next, and the word need sounded like it had finally learned its own weight. Short term. First and last month. I'll pay you back. I'll put it in writing. I let the sentence rest between us, then slid a single sheet of paper across the table. The separation proposal my lawyer had drafted with blanks where signatures live. This is the help I offer, I said. Clean lines. You keep what's yours. I keep what's mine. No joint accounts. No joint debts. No hidden obligations. I'll sign today. You can take it with you, review it, Have someone smarter than me read it. But I won't do back doors. Not with money. Not with us. She looked at the page like it might burn through. So that's it, she asked. Years together, and I get a form? You get the form, I said, and the freedom you demanded. That's not nothing. She blinked hard, then nodded like a person counting backward. I thought you'd rage, she said. Or beg. Or something. I don't rage, I said. And I don't beg. I restructure. She almost laughed, which told me there was still a person in there who liked the way I put nouns where action goes. We covered practicalities. The deposit. The utilities. The mail. The timing of keys, and the date the property office would stop calling me. I repeated what I'd already written 3 times. I would sign whatever the office required after she vacated, per their process, not ours. She asked if I would at least walk her through the application for a new place. I told her the leasing agents exist for that. She asked about the couch. I told her to keep it. It had her naps in it, not mine. When she ran out of logistics, she tried the past. It's the move everyone makes in a final meeting. Take the sharp present and wrap it in what used to be soft. She talked about the winter we painted and the takeout boxes and the fortune cookie that said your patience will be rewarded. I said I'd been patient and I'd been rewarded, with clarity. She said she never thought I'd become this cold. I told her cold is a temperature. What I am is clear. There's a difference. Will you ever come back? She asked at last, the question that puts a bow on every scene like this. I won't come back to funding you, I said. I won't come back to a version of us where my role is paying and forgiving while you audition independence on my card. If you mean the marriage, the answer is also no. I'm finished. She took that one like a person swallowing a pill without water. We stood. She reached for a hug and then didn't. I shook her hand because I am still a man who believes in contracts. She took the proposal and the address of a notary and the card of my lawyer in case she wanted her own. At the door, she turned back with one more line. I thought freedom was leaving you, she said. It was leaving your money. Both can be true, I said. Only one is permanent. I walked home the long way, bought groceries for one, and chose the smaller carton of eggs because I finally shopped for my life, not ours. At the apartment, I unpacked slow because peace is better taken in sips. My phone buzzed once, a single text. I signed. Thank you for making it clear enough to choose. I typed back 2 words that have carried me through every step of this. Be well. Not a bridge. A boundary with manners. Before bed, I taped my own notice to the inside of my front door where only I would see it. Not office font cheerful, handwritten, plain. Respect is not negotiable. Underneath, I wrote the line that started all of this and ended it. The one I will live by when anyone tries to spin me without asking. You said you wanted to live for yourself. So did I? Then I turned off the light in a place where every bill with my name on it arrives because I chose it, and I slept the kind of sleep that belongs to men who don't owe and aren't owed.
Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.